You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not
You are not
alone.
alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You're not alone.
You are not alone.
Hi guys, here today we have my good friend. She's going to be speaking about her diagnosis as well as her journey. Can you please tell the podcast your name and a little bit about your diagnosis?
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Morgan. I'm 19 years old and I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, which is a aggressive blood cancer. And I got diagnosed in grade 10, which I was 16 at the stage. So yeah.
16, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling today though?
I'm feeling good. A little bit nervous, but I mean, that's normal. So
I mean,
yeah.
don't worry about like obviously being on the podcast. I can understand. Obviously, even just speaking to people about your diagnosis can be a bit rough. And even with me, when someone asks me about my diagnosis, like you don't know really how to explain to them because they just don't understand really. But I mean, at the same time, you obviously want to educate them.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and if you could tell me a little bit more about your leukemia and your, like, how did you find out about it?
Okay. Yeah, so it was actually during also COVID time because I mean there was a before I got diagnosed we were on lockdown and it was also school holidays at the time, so it was like an extra 2 weeks holiday then because of lockdown. So I was like, oh yes, this is amazing. And I was at my friend's house in Pringle Bay for the weekend and I literally just went to go walk to the shops and I was extremely out of breath. Like I felt like I was running a marathon there and the shop wasn't even that far. And then I told my dad about this because I was going to stay by her for the weekend. And then my dad's like, no, this doesn't sound right at all. So then the following day it was then a Sunday. And I didn't want to eat. We went to Spur that morning. Didn't want to eat. And I just felt extremely tired once again. And I was just not having it that day. And then we're like, no, let's go to emergency. And then we went, and only my mom could come with me because it was COVID time.
Yeah.
And then the worst we expected was COVID because it was literally symptoms of COVID, like loss of breath and all that type of stuff. And then they did COVID test and they're like, no, this is not COVID. And I'm like, okay, well, what is it now then? Like, if it's not COVID, because that's what I was going with, I'm like, okay, worst can happen, it's going to be COVID. And then they do some blood tests and then I'm like, okay. Anyways, and then we got admitted into a room and I was still like chilling. I was like, I didn't even know what leukemia was at that stage. So I'm like, okay, I'm chilling. I'm busy showing my friends my room and all that stuff like that. I'm like, yo, look at my room, look at the view and everything like that. None the wiser. Then my dad was obviously not there at this stage, but then he came and I was like, okay, why are you here all of a sudden?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then I could see he was like red in the cheeks, you know, when somebody's been crying. And I'm like, okay, well, what on earth is happening? Because for my dad to cry, that's something. Then there must be something. Yeah. And then my mom comes in as well with the doctor. I'm like, oh crap, what is going on now that everybody's here all of a sudden? And then I'm just sitting on the bed. I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen now? Like, am I dying? Well, meanwhile, then he was like, okay, well, you've got leukemia and stuff. And then at that stage, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react, because I'm like, oh snap, this is actually something super serious. Like, this is life and death situation right now.
Yeah.
So then I got admitted and I stayed there for the one day and then I went to Catastrophe Netcare where you were also there. And then that's where obviously the journey all started. But with side effects, I only started to realize afterwards, once I was in hospital, what all of these side effects were actually. Meanwhile, I thought, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's just some, yeah, because like I had a massive bruise on my arm and I'm like, okay, maybe just bumped myself somewhere. Meanwhile, side effect. And then the loss of appetite, out of breath, obviously all of those were side effects and at that stage it was none the wiser. So yeah.
So, like, I imagine that you probably have never been, like, sick like that before.
No, not at all. And to obviously stay there for so long, I mean, I've stayed in the hospital like once and that's like one day and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But now I was staying there for now. In total, I stayed at hospital for 2 months. And I mean, that's something next level. So, and also, you can obviously relate, you can't have visitors or anything like that. So you stuck there in this room all by yourself. And then what happened was my parents rotated. So my mom would come stay during the day, then my dad at nighttime, vice versa. So yeah, like obviously that also played a role. I mean,
and I mean also like from this person that like got to have everything, got to go outside, got to see their friends and everything like that, and then just
Yeah, and you actually, like, there was just the most simplest of things that I wanted in the hospital. Like, I just want to take a bath, like, just a bath. And it had, like, honestly, it was just.
Yeah, for me, it's not, I just wanted to see the beach.
Exactly.
Like,
It's just simple things. Once that gets taken away from you, then you're like, oh, now you want it so badly. You actually take for granted all that stuff. So, yeah.
Even at one point, it was like, I haven't seen the sun.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're staying in such long periods of time. All you see is the nurses and sometimes your parents. So I'm like, okay, what now?
But then again, you get to learn all the nurses' families.
Exactly. You get the whole story, like what pets they have and all that. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Like, so what was your biggest challenges you faced with your diagnosis? Like,
Oof. Okay, so I would say it was actually like at the stage when I was in hospital, the first round that I was there in hospital, I was like, okay, I've got this wax. This is not, I didn't really get any side effects from the chemo at that first stage. I mean, it was just a bit of loss of appetite. Nothing like too like, ooh, like I'm gonna now. Yeah. But then second round when I came back to hospital, that knocked me like, it was nothing. Like honestly, I was struggling mentally and physically. I was so weak and I really thought I had this under the like it was just no good. And then like there were stages where I was like, snap Morgan, like you could actually die right now. Then there were sometimes obviously your mind can really eat you up at that stage. Like if you left alone for too long in such a small room and then you left exactly. And so I think that's what my parents like also did, which I'm actually thankful for because they really distracted me that I don't, how do I say, fall into that whole like think too much about exactly. So then there was also like side effects that I had, like really bad side effects from the medication. And then I was like, no, this is my time. I'm gonna go see the Lord right now. So like there was times that I was like, okay, this is it for me. Like I don't think I'm gonna come out of this one. But well, I'm still sitting here, so yeah.
But like even when I went through the whole chemo as well, like the first round that's completely fine.
Exactly, yeah.
And then second round, I don't know what I did, but like my stomach just wanted to meet the outside world.
Oh my goodness.
Like and especially the second round. So I didn't gather the thought of I'm on chemo, so I'm gonna lose my hair. Like I didn't have like wasn't in my thought. And then so the doctor came in and he tells me, oh, I'm surprised you haven't lost your hair yet. It's like just go like this quickly. Yeah, I go.
All of it. Also, nonsense that doesn't really like bother me too much. Everybody's like, oh, your hair. And I had long straight hair. But I was actually too phased about it. I mean, like, was gonna lose, what can I do really? So I'm like,
For me, it was like the hair was in the loss. But when my eyebrows went weird.
Oh, yes. I even had my eyelashes. I didn't realize at this stage, but then my eyelashes were gone as well. I was like, oh, snap. Where my eyelashes gone? Like, honestly.
Someone called me Mega Mind.
Oh, that.
Or Aang from the Avatar as well.
Oh, my shack.
I was like, okay. Yeah, you guys can make fun of me, but it's fine.
Yeah, like, honestly.
Yeah. So, like, what was your, like, thought process during that whole time? Like, what are you thinking about?
So, like I said with the previous question, it was really what played a role was like, am I gonna make it? Like, there was nights where I was really too scared to fall asleep because I'm like, what if I just don't wake up? And I think that was the one that really, what I thought about quite a bit because like after, like I said, these massive side effects and stuff like that I had, it felt like during these one of side effects that I had, I felt I had no control over my body. And that was just because of medication that was not supposed to happen. And then I had literally no control over my body. My body was doing its own thing. Like it would move to the side the whole time. And first of all, it started off, I was just chilling with my dad and we were going to watch some Marvel movies. And then I was like, obviously when you're in hospital, you tell everything that you feel and stuff like that. You can't, it might be the most slightest of things, but you've got to say everything. So then I was like, I'm being pins and needles, like, whatever. And then we called the nurse and they thought it was just my PICC line because it was in the arm that my PICC line was in. So it's like, okay, it's probably just maybe clean the PICC line or something like that. And then my mouth was like, my tongue was pulling weird, if that makes sense. Like, I can't how to describe it. Then my dad was like, "Mom, are you okay?" But I couldn't say anything because I had no control over it. And then my dad's like, "Sinus, I don't think she's okay. I think something's wrong." And then that's when it just went from like to 100. Then my head was like going up the whole time. My arms and my legs, they're all pulling weird. Like I had no control over my body whatsoever. And then my dad was like, "Snap, this is like really serious." He phoning my mom and everything like that. Because obviously I have a brother at home now as well. So obviously you've got to balance all of that. And then I was like, that's where I was like, this I think is my time, because that was next level. And then those were the stages after that night. I was really too scared to fall asleep because, like, what if this happens to me again? What if I can't wake up my mom because I had no control over my body at that stage? I'm like, what if this happens again and I can't wake up anybody? And then that's just it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was stuff like that where what caused me to think all these thoughts, like, what if I'm just not coming out of this? You know what I mean? And I think that obviously ran through your mind as well. I mean, I think it's normal for everybody to question that stuff because, I mean, you have such a bad type of sickness, and it's like I said, it's literally life or death.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I had a similar thing like that. A mixed medication, something like that, and yeah, trying to remember it. Even it was like apparently I was seizing up as well, but apparently I died for about like 30 minutes or so. And I woke up the next morning, so what's up?
yeah, like what's happening?
And my mom just started crying, and she was like, "Boy, you're alive."
Jeez.
But I mean, at the same time, like just having that thought process, like
Yeah.
just how quickly it went, like
Yeah. And the thing is, you don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, within like a blink of an eye, it's like, oh,
gone.
yeah.
So would you say that's like that was your biggest fear?
I would say that's definitely my biggest fear, that I was just...
You were out of control. You didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, like that was one of the most scary situations that happened in hospital. And then also my second time coming back, then also medication mixed up. Me and medication were like on a roll there. And then I had what's it called again? When you vision stuff, but it's not actually there. But you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So then I was seeing things, put it that way. And then for me, it felt so real. Like on the first night.
I mean, lucid thoughts.
Yes, like hallucinations and stuff like that. And then on the first night, it was literally National Geographic. Like there was elephants running around and penguins, and I was like, okay, this is not too bad. Like whatever. And then the nurses and my mom didn't like click at this stage. They're like, okay, probably just too much medication that's going on, and then I'm just on this high, if that makes sense. And then like there was the one night where it was like extremely scary, and it was like, it sounds funny, but for me at that stage it looked all so real. Like there was just people in my room like telling me to come to them and stuff like that, and like spiders climbing out the walls, and it was just not it. And for that happened for a week, and I can't remember nothing that happened. I don't know if I ate, if I showered or anything like that. I was out of it for a solid 2 weeks where I didn't know what was going on, and then only after a while I was like, could start remembering stuff now. But if my mom would mention something, then I'll be like, oh, I remember it then. But like at that stage I was like, what's actually happening?
Seeing penguins walk around.
Yeah, like honestly, I really felt like I was on Natural Geographic. Like, oh, there's an elephant. And I was even on the call with my aunt, and then she's like, what do you see, Morgan, and stuff like that? Because then I looked like and then there was like Peter Pan flying around the room and all that stuff. I was like, damn. So those were all just like side effects of medication, and then like obviously that all plays roles, and then kind of scared me in a way because I'm like, snap.
I'm losing it.
Yeah, like I'm really losing it here in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even if you speak to your friends, like
yeah,
you just say like if you had to tell them, they're like, nah, I can't tell you guys.
Yeah, like you won't understand.
Who was your rock? Who was the person that like took care of you? You could count on, could tell your thoughts.
I would say it was during my time in hospital. It was definitely my family and my friends. Like I said, my mom and dad were with me all the time in hospital, which plays a massive role. And also my brother was very supportive, and I mean he's quite young, and that stage I think he was like in grade 4. And then like when it comes with the brother now and stuff like that, unfortunately with donations, because I had to get a stem cell transplant. So then they obviously check your siblings, and it's a 1 in 4 chance that your siblings match. And then unfortunately my brother wasn't a match, so that's when the search came for like, okay, we've got to find a donor now and all that stuff. And then we found one actually pretty quickly, and normally it doesn't take that long. It takes quite long to find a donor. And then we got a donor which was 100% match in the whole entire world. Like that is really good to have such a yeah. And then she was all the way from America, so I was like, damn, this is like she saved
Me.
yeah, exactly. If I didn't get a stem cells, then I don't know what would happen and all that stuff. So that was happened. And then my friends as well, they were very supportive with it. And also say my school, like they were like they said if I needed any donations or anything like that, or needed help, anything like that. And also when I came back to school, they were very supportive. It wasn't like, because now obviously I'm coming to school bald, and then I'm like but then they were actually very supportive, and they're like, if you need to take a break or if you need rest or whatever, then you can come. So I definitely say it's my family, my friends.
Did they help you with like catching up with work?
Yes, and all that. It was just, they were very helpful. And I also say just like, I'm going into so many people now, but they really all were my rock during this time. And there was even people who I've never met, all the way from like Johannesburg even, and they were praying for me, and I was like, it's just so yeah. And then I'm like, these people, to do such something so kind, and even the nurses and all of that, the nurses and the doctors and all that, and they were just so supportive and so helpful, and just prayed for me and just made sure I was okay. So those were definitely all my rocks there. Yeah.
I'm very glad that you actually had a person that you could speak to, and not even. And I find it so crazy that even people that don't know you.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, I mean, the fact that you don't know me, but you're still doing this kind. Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, yo, thank you to all of you guys, honestly.
I mean, at the same time, even with me, like, my friends were my rock, my family were my rock, so my brother gave me his, and luckily that was the 50%.
Okay.
To this day, even when I had it done with him, I always wanted to thank him, but like I felt like he was too young then to understand what he did for me. But even now, like I try and just be the best brother he could ever have, because he did save my life at the end of the day. So I do everything in my power to just thank him. And at the same time, I feel like you would want to do the same thing for
yes. So I have to now wait, since it's considered a organ donation, I have to wait now 5 years to meet my donor, just in case any complications happen or so forth. So I mean, when I turn 21, then I could go visit her. So hopefully that will happen. I really would like to thank you to her, because the fact that I don't even know if she knows I'm alive right now. So we don't know anything about each other. All I know is she's a female from America, and I think she's like in her 40s or something. So like, I really would like to meet her. That's definitely.
I think she would really like.
Yes.
Enjoy that and be very thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is one piece of advice you give to people like during that time of being like not knowing what you did, like were in control of, or?
Yeah. So one piece of advice I would give honestly is that during your hardships, it can actually be a blessing in disguise. At that point, you don't think it's actually a blessing. But if I didn't go through all of this, if I didn't go through this journey with the whole cancer and stuff, I wouldn't be sitting here at this podcast busy telling you all this. I have a much closer relationship with God now. I have a positive outlook on life now. I've made so many amazing friends during this time. This wouldn't have happened if I didn't go through this journey.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel, and some people might think like, oh, how do you find this a blessing, this whole thing? At that point in time, when I was going through it, I didn't click. Like, you obviously think, why am I going through this? And so forth. Like, why is this happening to me? But now that I'm like in remission and finished almost that journey and gone through all of that, I actually feel it was such a blessing because, like I said, I'm here doing this podcast.
Exactly.
If I didn't go through all of that, I wouldn't be sitting here. I don't know if I would even, like, just, it baffles my mind, honestly, because during that time, it actually gave me such positive things out of it, actually, if that makes sense. Like I said, I've made new friends. I've got a much closer relationship with God. I mean, I got baptized. I'm reading my Bible now, and that is just...
like...
Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about you coming out of it, I think what other people see in you is you become more mature. You see life in a different way.
Exactly.
You appreciate life more differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you are now trying to take this whole concept of now you've made it out and you want to make the world see what you didn't see in that room, feeling like you were not in control. You want to now go live life to the best.
Exactly.
And just share love and peace and all the kinds. But I'm super happy that you made it out of it. Like, I can't tell you how awesome it is to meet you.
No, thank you, honestly.
Someone that actually can relate to what I also
exactly went through. And I mean, we didn't even, and this is also such a thing, like, even though we didn't have the same sickness, I mean, we literally laid in the same hospital rooms at a stage. So it's like something so simple, but I can still relate to you. We've had the same nurses, same doctors, and it's something small, but...
Even the same thoughts.
Exactly. So even though it's something different, we can relate in a way, which I find actually very cool, because that's all I craved in hospital, was just somebody to talk to that can relate to me. That's all I wanted. So...
And I mean, at the same time, like, when you meet someone like that, like for me, when I first met you, I was just like, I can't stop smiling. Like someone actually understands what
exactly. You feel so happy afterwards. Like this person understands me.
On the topic of that, what does you and I alone mean to you?
Okay, so I've got a few meanings for you not alone. So firstly is while I was in hospital, I had my family and friends with me, and like I said, all these other people that I don't know that were with me, so I was not alone during that stage. And then even with this like business that you have, that you're not alone, which I so love about this podcast, is it can help other people that feel like you alone, but now you're hearing my story and you're like, oh wait, she's been through actually the same thing as what I've been through. Or even like with Brandon's story, for instance, you think at that point, I don't know how to put it in words, but you think at that point, I'm alone, nobody understands what I'm going through and all that stuff. But then you realize, like, even though, like me and you now, for instance, we didn't go through the same thing, but we don't know, because we could relate and understand what we were coming through. So
just even the smaller things you can relate
exactly
to,
So that's another way of, I think, that you're not alone, because there's other people out there who've also gone through the same thing as you, and you just don't realize it at that stage.
For sure.
And then also, like Brandon said in your previous video, that God is always with you. You might not think it, you might not feel it, but He is always with you. And that is just one thing that is really the most important for me, and what you're not alone means, because God was with me every step of the way. And like I said, I don't think I would have been sitting here if it wasn't for Him. I wouldn't be talking to you about this. And like I said, my relationship has just grown so much after this journey. That's why I think it's a blessing, honestly, that I went through this, because look at all the outcomes that it's...
Exactly.
So, that's what my three meanings would be for you not alone, like family and friends and God, definitely.
I definitely agree with all of what you just said. At the same time, like, I'm so happy that you have an understanding what I'm trying to do with everyone.
Exactly.
And kind of, I know it's not like we're not as big as we want to be right now and whatnot, but at the same time, we want people to, from the beginning, just understand.
Exactly.
We're here to just share the thoughts of others and help others, knowing that they've got the same thoughts as others and can help others. And that is, I'm so happy that you got that concept. Like,
yes.
But thank you very much for being us.
No, but thank you for having me.
And I do wish you the best on your journey and to carry on just being healthy.
Yeah.
You deserve it. But thank you again. Thanks guys for joining the podcast today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.